Hey folks, welcome back. Now, last night, previously, we were looking at switching off suppliers, switching off processing, basically controlling what was allowed to output, what was allowed to process, depending on the current state of the input and output components. Now, one of the things that I didn't want to do was to have these on like a rotating tick and continuously checking. Okay? So, in the first instance, we are actually kind of able to do that because the input is only affected when we transfer an item into the input. Okay? So, what we have done is we have written a function called check comp is full. Okay? And if we look at this, what we do is we check if it's full, and if that value equals the same as what it's currently set at, it does nothing. Okay? So basically what we're saying here is we're only going to do something if the value changes. Okay? So, if it has changed, we update it to say the comp input is full to true or false. And then what we can do is we can set now, in this case it's comp input, okay? So if the comp input is full, we want the supplier to be turned off, okay? So, in that case, we want something similar to the output object. Now, the output object has an owner building, okay? And we want it to basically be the same. So we want to find the references and we want to see where this is set. And I'm imagining it's done here, yeah, begin play. Okay? So what we can do here is we can copy this. We can go to our comp input. Right? We can check our begin play. And this is the get owner here, right? So what we can actually do is promote this to a variable. And we can say owner building. Now, this might have to change because obviously we might have the conveyor going to a combiner or splitter, but in the meantime we're trying to solve this issue, right? So we know that the owner building, so if the comp input is true, okay, we basically get the owner building and then if we look at the comp output, we're basically saying allowed to process. Okay? But we don't actually want to do that. Right? Now we've set up two new things called stop from output from supplier and restart output from supplier. Okay? So with that in mind, what we actually want to do is go to the base building, right? And we're going to do event stop output from supplier. Okay? And in fact, we could use this one. Right, so what we'll actually do here is we'll do this one. So this is the base building. And what we can do, right, we're not going to do that one. We're going to do this one. Right, so we're in the base building, but we need to know well, actually we don't. We can get the owner building, and then basically what we can do is stop the processing. No, that's not true. We stop the output. Right? And this isn't actually necessary here. We can actually put it in each of the different buildings, like for example the miner. Right? In fact, right, so we are calling this. Right, so we're calling the BP building. Okay, so comp input, we do this, and then we do what was that called again? It's called stop output from supplier. Okay, so if we go back to base building, I've taken that out. Right, event stop output from supplier. And here stop, we're going to call it's not that one. We stop output from supplier. but we don't do that. Right, so we actually do this. Okay. And then with this, we say stop output from supplier. Okay. And now we're going to do this exact same thing. I think this is going to be restart. Yep. So this is going to be the same thing. So this is going to go in here. So what we're doing is we're basically telling the child of this, which is like, so this is the BP, this is the base building. So we're basically sending a message to the child, which would be a miner, refiner, fabricator, smelter, etc., that we want to stop this, right? And in this case, we want to restart it. Right? So the point being is that we need to now go into comp input we get the owner building and we basically say stop output from supplier, but that's not right. It should be a message. Right? Right, we're going to take the context off. So that's stop. Tell you what, we're going to say stop. We're not going to add the event. Stop output message. Okay? Now, the one thing we're going to have to do here is then we're going to have to do restart Okay, so that's going to be restart. Right. Okay, so when it's full, we stop the output from the supplier. When it's false, we restart it. Okay? And this is only going to get to here if the value has changed. Now, the one other place we have to do the same check is when we produce something into the output. Okay? We're going to have to do this same check because there's two ways that the input can be used or changed, right? One is when we put something in. The other one is when we take something out. And the time is when we take something out is when it gets processed, okay? So, if we go into like our miner, we'll do this first in the miner. So if we process, and this is the thing that removes, this is the thing that puts into the output, but we also need to know, well, the miners are sort of different kettle of fish, isn't it? Well, that's okay. If we go to the refiner, right, when we process, we take away from the supply, which is here. Okay? And then we add to the output here. So, what we should do is do that check on the comp input here. No, that's not it at all. We call the function comp check comp is full. Okay. So that's the two different versions of what can happen that's going to change what comp input is, or the values in comp input, right? So if we have too many or if we still have too many, it's going to stop it. So this should, well, we've got one more thing to do, right? So in our miner is our first example, right? We can forget this for now. We can say event if we get this call, then we're going to get the two calls, right? This is going to be restart okay, so this is going to be clear timer by function name, and that's going to be process. And then I believe we're going to do set process. This one is going to call set process. And then that resets up the process with the correct times, etc. Okay? So, with all that in mind, we can actually test this on our refiner and miner. Okay. So let's have a look at how this is running. We can spin this around. Okay, click on the conveyor. So our barrels should start coming out. I'm going to add a breakpoint there. So this is our comp input has changed. Okay, and it's going to come to here, which it has, and it's not done that. Oh, it has. Right, so let's take a look at our refiner and see how it's doing. Right, so we'll have a look at our input. And it's at 19. And as soon as it hits 9, we should start getting output again. So here we go. We're at 10. And there we go. If we step over, it's going down to restart. And here come our barrels again. So that's perfect. It should fire, which is correct. What's going on? That shouldn't be continuously firing. comp is full, true. If those aren't equal to each other, step over, step over. Okay, so that's going down again. Okay. Let's see if it gets to we're at 14, 13, 12. Could do with speeding this up a bit, I think. Change the processing time on this. And we're 9. We resume. And here come the barrels again. Excellent. So that is comp input working. Right, now we need to do the same for comp output. Okay, so we're going to disable that, and so comp output we've got a is output full, so we have got a check here for this, and we have got an output full don't process. Okay, now let's just check. We'll say okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom event, and we're going to pretty much do the same thing, right? So we're going to say is comp output full. Okay, and we're going to set a variable to is output full. In fact, we'll just call it comp output full. Okay, and we'll check this against the input because it's basically the same logic. So we say comp output full, and that is going to be not equal to we say is output full. Bring these a bit closer. Right. Then we're going to branch off that. And if compute out input is not full, we set it. And we set it to is full, or the value we get back from is full. Okay? And if the comp output is full, then we need to stop processing. Okay, we don't stop outputting, we just stop processing. But we stop processing on ourselves. Okay? So this doesn't need to be an interface call because we're not calling another building. We're telling ourselves to stop processing. Okay, and on that we're going to have a quick 2-minute break. I shall be right back. Okay guys, we're back. So from that we can set up two new so we can do this in the miner first. Now what we want to do is create two custom events. These are going to get copied to each of the different buildings, right? And we're going to say output full stop processing. Then we're going to create another one, and it's going to be called output not full restart processing. Okay, and in the miner we've got process and set process. Okay, so this one becomes very similar to the one above, which is basically that. Okay, and then this one basically is the same as this. Okay, so we can add a breakpoint here, we can add a breakpoint here, then we can go to comp output, then we can branch on this and basically say we actually might need, yep, we are going to need to make an interface call. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go back to our miner, we'll get this name here, we'll copy it, and we'll add, and we'll paste that. Then we shall go back to our comp output. No, we won't. We'll go back to our here. We'll copy this name. We'll copy that. We'll go back to our interface. We'll add another one, and we'll say that. Okay. Right, I thought I was going to crash there. I was a bit worried for a second. Right, so if we go back to our miner, we can delete these. They are going to get called, but in a different way. Right, what we're going to do, since we're that little scares, we're going to save all. We're going to go back to our comp output. then let's have a look at our BPI. Hey Kofi, how are you? I'm good, mate. We're making progress now on the switching suppliers off and on and stuff like that. I had to think about it last night and decided to take a sort of a different, not a different, I had a logical think about it instead of just trying to do it off the cuff. Right, we're still trying to do it off the cuff, but at least we've had to think about it beforehand this time. So we want this name here, which is output full stop processing, right? So we're going to do output full stop processing, and it's going to be a message. And then we're going to do the other one, which is output not full. Right, so we're going to say output not full, restart processing. Okay, these go in here, and our target is the owner building. Okay, and from here we go to the building, the base building, and we basically do the same thing for these. Right, we say event output full stop processing, and then we do the same thing, event not full start reprocessing. Okay, so the reason for this is basically we're not constantly having to do this in a loop on a timer. It only actually changes these things when it needs to, when one of the things that affects these values actually does something, right? So output full that's a message. And that's going to be output not full start reprocessing. Okay. Okay, Kofi, let me show you what we're doing here, right? And how it's actually working. Because it is actually working. This is related to the output, which we're not doing at the moment, right? But we're about to implement that. But if we do this, we will see it in action. Don't worry about this power thing. It's just a test. Right, so we shall spin that around. Right, so what we should see is after about 10 get in, it'll stop the output. So this will be controlling this, but it's through the spline. Right, so we should see it stopping anytime soon. Yep, there it's stopped, right? So our output has stopped because this is full. Okay, now if we come into here and look at our refiner and then look at our input, right, once this gets down to, let's say, to 9, it will fire this up again. It will fire this output. So let's see that happening, hopefully. Right, just a couple to go. And 11. And 10. And 9. And here they come again. See? So that's pretty cool. So what we can actually do here is we could make it, if we go to our recipes, we can actually change the speed at which this happens. Right, because we've made the iron ore take 5 seconds. Right, if we change this down to 2 seconds, that's going to make a heck of a difference. So let's try that again. I should really save, but hey ho. That'll do there. Okay. So this should process a heck of a lot faster. Right? So if we come down to our refiner, right, we've got our refiner, and if we go to comp input, it's going up. Not very fast, but it's going up. Right, so it's stopped. And now we should see it going down a heck of a lot quicker. There we go, it's coming down 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, and here it comes again. Excellent. So you can see now that it's reacting to the speed at which this is getting used up. Okay, so it's outputting, outputting, outputting. Then once we hit the 10 again, it'll stop. And that's it stopped again. And that's going down now. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, and here it comes again. So as you can see, that's working really nicely. And now we just need to finish off our output. Okay. So we're calling to our output building, and now in our miner we want event output full stop processing. Okay, and then event output not full start reprocessing or restart processing. Okay, and these things we can copy these and paste them into our refiner. Okay, we won't then. What we'll do is we'll go back to our miner, we'll copy these, then we'll go into our refiner and right, okay, whatever. Right, what we'll do is, it looks like it's, so we'll copy them, go to refiner, paste them, right? Then we'll just check names. That's transfer item, okay? And we've got process. I don't think we've got a set new process. We don't have a set new process time. Right, so we probably need to do that. Right, but in the meantime, let's have a look at our miner. Okay. So in our refiner, we say clear timer by function name. And it's going to be process. And it's going to be set timer. Right, let's just do this the right way. Let's do this the right way. Okay, this is going to get deleted, so I'm just going to delete that right now. And we're going to delete that. Okay. And we're going to delete that. And then this is going to come in here. And we're going to create a custom event. And it's going to be set process. That's going to come in here. That's going to set it at the right time. That's going to say set process. So that's that done. So now we can come down here, back to where we were, and this is going to be set process. Then we can duplicate that. And do that. Whoops. Whoops a daisy. So we can come back down here. There we go. So in theory now, we should be, it should start and stop both our this in theory is the work we needed to do to get this to start and stop stuff. depending on whether our input is complete or is full, or our output is full. Right, so what we're looking for is at some point our processing should have stopped for both of these. At least that's the plan. I don't know why that one is quite so delicate. Right, so what we want to do is we want to check the refiner. And we want to see if this gets fired at some point. And the way we can tell that is if we check comp output. We haven't told it to check. It's only at 8 at the moment, right enough. That's a bit weird. How it's only 8. Hey Passer, how you doing? Good to see you. Right. So I am a bit weirded out by this because for some reason our iron ore is not going above 8. And I shouldn't have stopped that there. That was a bit silly. Let's do that again. I want to see why it's stopping, if there's something actually, a bit of rogue code stopping it or something. Hey, I'm good, mate. Things are going well. We're making progress today at a steady pace. We've got it stopping output when the input of another building is full. We've got it passing the message across back to its supplier to basically stop pumping stuff out. We're now working on the output to say that if this output is full, then we basically stop processing product, which will then in turn stop it using the stuff from the output, which will then in turn stop its supplier from pumping stuff out, right? So if we get this right, this should be like a domino effect, where as each further up product becomes full, then it should stop each of the preceding buildings in turn from outputting stuff. So if we check comp output, we've got iron ore, right? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why is it stopping at 8? Why in the hell are you stopping at 8? Right, okay, so you're stopped at 8. Okay. Now, are you still processing? And the answer to that is no. And yet this thing is still pumping stuff out as well. So what's happened to the input here? Right, well this is altogether completely and utterly weird. Let's stop that. So this is fundamentally, right, okay. Right, we need to go to the refiner, right? And we're checking the comp is full. And then when we come out here, we're not doing this. But on the comp output, we should say what is the comp output one called? Is comp output full? Right. So refiner is comp output full. Now, the interesting thing here is we're going to have to run these after we stop the processing. Right, so we basically do that. And we do it again down here. Okay. So you're going to start, have you got any idea what, have you got an idea of your game or? Passer, have you got an idea for your game or are you just going to come up with it sometime on the fly as you're learning? What's your plan? Okay, so all right. Well, there's a lot of assets out there for medieval stuff, so right, so we need the input on here. Right, so this is still going. So it's not checking this at all. Right, so we have an issue here. Right, so every time we come into event, it should be coming in here and saying it's full. Right, so comp input. Check comp is full. Yeah. What I'll do what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that. I'm going to put that back. I'm going to copy that and then delete it. Right? And then I'm going to paste it in here. And then we're going to plug in our comp input there. Drag it out a wee bit. Give us space to put that there. So in our comp input, add breakpoint, add breakpoint. Right, just before we test this, I'm going to go and grab a cigarette. So stick around, guys. I'll be back in a second. Okay guys, we're back. Let's get on with this. Now, what I think is happening is, in the refiner, this is wrong, right? Stop output from supplier should not stop the process, it should stop it outputting, right? So I believe this is actually wrong. Now, it was working earlier. But this code appears wrong to me. The logic is not logical, right? What it should be doing is going to the comp output, right? And basically saying stop outputting, right? So this shouldn't even be here, and we should have a variable in the output to say comp output full. We should be checking this value here, right? So I believe that's the problem, but I don't know why it was actually working. So let's try and fix it on the miner first, right? So these two are not correct. Okay. Now, if we check in here, if the comp output is full, then actually we don't need to do anything. Yes, we do. Right, so if the comp output is full, we stop processing. That is actually correct. Right? If the comp input is full, we stop output from supplier. That's correct. Right, but stop output from supplier in the miner's case shouldn't stop processing. Right? Now, right, let's go back to comp input. I'm getting myself confused here. Comp output is full. Comp input is full. Right, we tell the supplier to stop this. Right? So this has then got to tell the comp output that it's no longer allowed to place stuff, right? So we can set this value, right? And if the recipient is full, let's see where this is actually referenced, if anywhere. Yeah, it's referenced here. So we delete this. We don't care about that, because just because so we save that, right? Then in our miner we get the comp output, and we say recipient is full to true. Right, so we'll move that to there, then we'll click that on, and there we do that, and we turn that to false. Now if our output is full, that's fine. So let's have a look at this. Right, so we're doing good. I think this is the might be the final piece of the puzzle, but it might not. I might need to dry run this and actually do a flowchart of how this works to figure this all out. The problem is we're going between two different buildings. So the refiner is actually telling the miner to stop. And it does get a bit confusing of what we're actually working with at the time. Right, so let's have a look at our refiner again. And let's see if it's getting the input stuff correct. Okay, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay. No, that's our output full. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. So we can resume that, and now it's telling our supplier to stop. But our supplier hasn't stopped. Okay. So why is our supplier not stopping? Let's go back to the miner and see if output stop from supplier. Right. So if we go to stop output from supplier. Okay. So owner building, so that's in BPI. Sorry, it's in base building. Output stop from supplier. Stop output from supplier. Right. So we do that, do that. Well, this is a bit weird. I like how you're starting small with a AAA game. Ah, like melee combat system. Well, I'm afraid that it's not really starting small. Right. Even a combat system like that isn't small. That is quite an undertaking. Well, depending on how you do it, if you're doing it with like all plugins or whatever, then maybe not so much, but then it's in that case it's really not your own. That's the problem with plugins and stuff like that. A lot of people don't change anything in them, and it just becomes patently obvious that it's a complete rip-off of a plugin. Right. So that's telling me that the output is full, right? Resume. So now it's telling me that the comp input is full. So if we resume that, it's not firing this event. Which means that it's not stopping it, right? So that's the issue here. Because if that was correct, then this should have got fired, but it didn't. Yeah, you're not going to make something big, right? You're one guy. One guy doesn't make something big. You're better just scaling everything back and just go for something really, really simple. So why is this not firing? Is the question. right? Let's grab our owner building. Stop. Output. Let's do it as a context. See, this is not giving me the message. No, that's not what we want. Stop. Output. I wonder if that'll do it. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is the wrong thing. This is the wrong thing completely. Yeah, this is completely the wrong thing. Wow. It's not the owner building that I'm calling here. It should be, if we look at base building, I've completely lost my train of thought. Right, we should be getting the owner building. But we need to get the spline. Right? So we need to get the conveyor in. Right. So the conveyor in. Okay, right, okay. We're fine with that. So in the comp input, we get the owner building, right? And then we get child. Get child actor. Right, so we're not doing that. Get child actor. Get all child actors. Right, we don't get descendants. And then we get a copy. We need context. we get that. And then we do the message. So then this becomes that. Right? And in fact, that's not even true. Or is it? Let's see what happens, right? I think we need another step here. We kind of need to get, this is going to be conveyor. Let's get conveyor in. Yeah. So, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work at all. So we are getting a child actor. This might still work, but we're going to have to do a bit more in the output. Right? And we are going to have to check to see what this actually is. Right? So what we'll do there is do that, and then we'll go to our miner. Is that going to even be the miner? No, that's going to be a refiner. If I do that. Right? Right, in base building, we have the output spliner, but that's not really what we want. Right, it's the output spliner of the building that we were doing. Right, let's have a look at something here. Let's have a look at Fabricator. Now, did I copy some of this stuff over? And in the Fabricator, yes, we have the conveyor in. We're using the conveyor in of the Fabricator. So the refiner problem is we need to tell it what type of building we are, right? So I'm guessing that if we cast to BP refiner, right, we can then get the conveyor in. I'd imagine it's going to be at the bottom somewhere. Conveyor. Get conveyor in. It's going to be on the refiner, obviously. And then it would be supply actor. Right. And then it would be to this, you would send the message. Right, so that would be stop output. And apparently we can't do that. So what we'll do is we'll do that. We'll do that. And then we'll do that. Then we'll move this out the way a bit. We shall remove this. Plug it in here. Then add breakpoint. Compile that. But having said that, I still should have done it with the owner building. I don't understand. I mean, we can try it and see what happens, but I'm still not convinced that this is the way to go. I'm still not convinced that this is correct. And this is most certainly not the way I want to do it. Right, so off it goes. Okay. Well, that's none. Owner buildings refiner. What? Yeah, that should be right. Okay. Okay, dokie. Delete that. Delete that. Can this go in here? I don't think so. Yep, that's a BP base building. So if we cast this to refiner, right, and then do that, and then do that, but what I'm thinking here is this might have to be a function that we can call from the refiner and the miner and whatever, and it returns a value, and we do the processing here outside in our refiner, right? But I mean, we could still do the cast. I mean, it doesn't. We're not doing that much. We've avoided casting as much as possible so far anyway. So we don't have a lot of casting and stuff in the. So it's kind of neither here nor there whether we actually do a little bit of casting. I mean, I would guess that it's not entirely avoidable, you know. You can try to avoid it as much as possible, but there are just going to be some times that you need to use it. So, yeah, there's that. And we want a breakpoint here. Right, so that is a refiner. Can step over this. There's a spliner. And our supply actor. We can resume that. And there, in our miner, we now get that. Then there's recipient is full. We can resume that. Our output is now full. So we can resume that. So we've stopped. Okay? That is absolutely 100% correct. And it won't start up again unless I put another building down and start feeding it, because this is on, we could actually put it, because a refiner has $32. Right? So you can see there that something's happened already. Now, I don't know what's called that. But yeah. I'm guessing right. Disable that. Now, you'll see this is now our output is 0, right? But if we go to our refiner, I'll bet you that we're not processing. So we need to check if the output, right, so we're going to delete this, that's no longer required. And whatever this little thing here was that was doing this, we need to delete that as well. And so on a comp output, if we output from storage, right, we need to run like the check output is full thing. Right, so we need to run this thing here, is comp output full. Okay. Right, and on that bombshell, I'm going to finish up for this hour or two, and we shall be back in at 8 p.m. Central. And maybe I'll have made some progress, but I have got a meeting later on today. So if you've enjoyed the stream, hit the subscribe button. Check out the description for Discord and the Patreon and stuff, and my previous game. Have a look at them. And thank you for watching. Bye bye for now.